Instead of celebrating the new year on stage or at a private event, one of the world's most recognizable pop stars welcomed midnight in a hospital room and shared it with millions. No panic, no dramatic headlines, just a calm message that immediately raised questions. Why was Pink hospitalized on New Year's Eve? Was this unexpected or something long planned? And why did her reaction feel so different from what we usually see when celebrities face health issues? This wasn't about shock value or fear, it was about timing, transparency, and a quiet decision that turned an ordinary update into something far more meaningful as a new year began. On New Year's Eve, Pink shared a photo from a hospital bed showing herself in good spirits with a visible bandage around her neck. According to publicly available information, she had undergone a scheduled medical procedure involving her cervical spine, specifically the replacement of 2 discs in her neck. The timing immediately caught attention. While many were preparing to celebrate the start of a new year, Pink was focused on recovery and medical care. However, there were no indications of an emergency or sudden health scare. Sources clarified that the procedure was planned in advance and conducted under professional medical supervision. Pink addressed the situation directly, explaining that the surgery was not cosmetic and not the result of an accident, but a necessary step related to long-term physical strain. She maintained a light, composed tone, reassuring fans and emphasizing that she was recovering well as the new year began. For most audiences, live performances last a few hours. What often goes unseen is the physical cost that builds over decades. Pink's career has never followed a minimal or stationary format. From early tours to her most recent shows, she has consistently delivered performances that combine singing, choreography, and complex aerial elements that place sustained pressure on the body. Unlike artists who remain mostly grounded on stage, Pink became known for physically demanding routines that require strength, flexibility, and precise control. Over time, repeated rehearsals, nightly performances, and international touring schedules can create cumulative strain, particularly on the neck and spine. Medical professionals frequently note that these kinds of long-term stresses do not always produce immediate symptoms, but instead develop gradually. Publicly available interviews over the years have shown Pink speaking openly about pushing through physical discomfort to meet professional commitments. Like many performers, she prioritized consistency and reliability, often placing health maintenance behind tour schedules and audience expectations. In that context, a planned procedure such as cervical disc replacement becomes less surprising. It represents a proactive decision rather than a sudden crisis. These types of interventions are commonly recommended when conservative treatments are no longer sufficient, especially for individuals whose careers depend on physical performance. What makes this moment notable isn't the procedure itself, but the timing and transparency. It reveals the often hidden reality behind high-energy performances and raises a question worth considering. If years of preparation lead to a moment like this, what does it say about how success quietly demands its price? What truly shaped the public response wasn't the medical update itself, but the way Pink chose to communicate it. Her message avoided alarm and speculation, relying instead on clarity, humor, and restraint. By openly stating that the procedure was planned and not cosmetic, she immediately set boundaries around how the situation should be interpreted. Her use of light humor served a specific purpose. Rather than minimizing the seriousness of medical care, it reframed the moment as manageable and intentional. This tone signaled confidence and control, shifting the narrative away from vulnerability and toward responsibility. For many viewers, that distinction mattered. Pink's wording also emphasized gratitude toward medical professionals, toward her support system, and toward the ability to address health concerns proactively. That framing positioned the situation not as something happening to her, but as a decision she actively made. In doing so, she subtly challenged a common expectation that health updates must be dramatic or emotionally charged to be meaningful. This approach resonated because it reflected a broader cultural shift. Audiences increasingly recognize the difference between a crisis and maintenance, between urgency and foresight. Pink's message aligned with that awareness, offering a model of how to discuss health without fear, exaggeration, or secrecy. Rather than asking for sympathy, she offered perspective. And in a moment when many people reflect on resolutions and priorities, that perspective felt timely, reinforcing the idea that caring for one's body is not a setback, but a deliberate and forward-looking choice. The response online was notably calm. Instead of alarm or speculation, the dominant reaction focused on reassurance, respect, and understanding. Many fans expressed appreciation for the transparency, while others shared supportive messages centered on recovery rather than concern. The absence of panic was striking, especially in a digital space often driven by urgency and exaggeration. This reaction can be traced back to the way the information was presented. Because the procedure was clearly described as planned and controlled, there was little room for confusion. Pink's steady tone helped shape the conversation before misinformation could take hold, guiding attention away from fear and toward context. Beyond the immediate fan response, the moment reflected a broader cultural shift. Public discussions around health, especially among high-profile individuals, have become more open and less sensationalized. Audiences are increasingly familiar with the idea that preventative care and medical intervention can be part of long-term well-being, not just emergency response. In recent years, transparency has replaced silence. Where health matters were once hidden or delayed, they are now shared with intention and clarity. Pink's update fit naturally into this evolving landscape, reinforcing the idea that addressing physical strain is a responsible choice rather than a weakness. As the conversation settled, one theme became clear. This wasn't a story driven by worry, but by recognition. Recognition of limits, of preparation, and of the value of addressing issues before they escalate. And that shift invites a deeper question. If openness reduces fear, what other conversations could change if framed with the same clarity?
Stories like this invite a broader reflection on how success is measured and maintained. In many high-performance careers, progress is often associated with endurance, the ability to keep going regardless of discomfort. Over time, that mindset becomes normalized, not only for public figures, but for anyone working under constant pressure. What Pink's experience quietly highlights is the difference between short-term performance and long-term sustainability. Physical capability is not unlimited, even when supported by training, resources, and professional care. The body responds to repetition and strain in predictable ways, and eventually attention becomes necessary. Addressing those signals early can extend both health and career longevity. This perspective challenges a familiar narrative. Success is frequently portrayed as uninterrupted momentum, yet most long-lasting careers are built on cycles of intensity followed by recovery. Pauses are not signs of weakness, but part of a sustainable rhythm. In creative and physically demanding fields, that balance often determines whether someone can continue doing what they love.
Importantly, this is not a moral lesson or a directive. It is an observation grounded in reality. Choosing rest or medical intervention does not diminish achievement. In many cases, it protects it. The willingness to step back even briefly can preserve the ability to move forward. By sharing this moment without dramatization, Pink normalized a rarely visible aspect of success. Maintenance, recovery, adjustment, and care are not interruptions to progress. They are components of it. And as more people recognize that distinction, the definition of strength begins to shift towards something quieter but far more sustainable. As the initial attention fades, what remains is a quieter understanding of the moment. This story doesn't rely on surprise or intensity to leave an impression. Instead, it settles into reflection, a reminder that not every meaningful event arrives with noise or urgency. Some arrive softly, asking to be noticed rather than reacted to. There is something grounding about seeing a public figure approach health with calm acceptance. It reframes recovery not as an interruption, but as a natural response to effort over time. For many people, that framing feels familiar. Long periods of responsibility, ambition, or pressure often come with subtle signals that are easy to ignore. This moment offers space to reconsider those signals without judgment. It suggests that acknowledging limits does not mean stepping away from purpose. In many cases, it means protecting it. The ability to pause, reflect, and adjust is not separate from resilience. It is part of it.
Rather than presenting a dramatic turning point, this story provides a steady perspective, one that values awareness over urgency and care over expectation. It doesn't demand change, but it quietly invites it. As the year moves forward, moments like this linger not because of what happened, but because of how it was handled. And sometimes that calm approach becomes the most lasting takeaway of all.